All right, party people. What's up, everybody? It's your girl. Welcome to China and welcome to my channel. And if you're new here, baby, welcome to the Nightcap Cruise.
If I'ma spend, I gotta pay for some friends. Let me pay for some friends. If I'ma spend, shot a brain, your friend.
For those who do not know, we have a very special edition of our show tonight. If you do not know, it is Pride Month. So we are celebrating all things LGBTQ plus today, and we have some very special guests. But before we get into our special guests, I gotta go ahead and introduce, the old scallywag of a panel I got. We got Miss Danielle in here. Danielle, hello. Fit Hollywood 6. We got at Libby Rose. Follow her on TikTok. We got at Naturally Elegant. We got Q Suave, your favorite rapper that you don't know, but now you know. And then we have our special guest, Miss Holly Berry Dairy. Go ahead and introduce yourself and introduce your children as well. Let's get into it.
Period, China. Thank y'all so much for having us here tonight. We're so excited. My name is Darius Bud, stage name, popularity name. I've been gifted with the name of Halle Berry Dairy. I currently sit at the head of the House of Berry, and join with me are two of my amazing, super talented children that y'all are going to learn so much about, Mr. Evan Berry and Miss Jaha Bella Berry. Y'all can throw some snaps in the virtual world, something like that.
Oh, we already getting hot. So I love that. We had to get the snaps in the virtual world. Okay, snap again. Let's do it again. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all.
If I'ma spend, I gotta pay for some friends. Let me pay for some friends. If I'ma spend, shot a brain, your friend.
So if you are new here, you already know how we do this on the Nightcap Crew. I, China, go ahead and present our lovely panel with a series of questions. But tonight, these questions are going to be what? LGBTQ plus base. Now, how many times I'll be able to say that? Hopefully, I can get through it. I've been saying it flawlessly.
I'm going to help you, China.
Give me. So he will make sure that I get right tonight. So, everybody, the first question I'm going to open up to the panel. We're going to all get into it, and we're going to get started. The first question for everybody is, when did you first find out about sexuality? Now, this is an open question for the panel. Again, we're going to have our themed section coming up soon, but this is going to be open to everybody. Of course, we're going to go ahead and start with our wonderful guest, Jaha Berry. Why don't you go ahead and take us away? When did you first find out? Go ahead.
Okay, so funny story. Both my mother and father are both gay, right? But they're both extremely Christian and wanted straight children to allow God to forgive them for being queer. So from an early age, as a kid, I thought, okay, some girls like girls, some girls like guys. Some boys like girls, some boys like guys. I like everybody, right? And then I got to maybe first grade, and people was like, no, what you like is Satan. And I was like, okay, there's rules. Got you, right? So for a long time, I navigated myself as a pansexual woman, which transitioned into a bisexual woman, because I thought that still having that piece that could still be, I guess, quote unquote, straight would absolve me from the gayness when really I was gay.
So you felt like you were playing it safe a little bit.
Yeah. I was trying to basically still keep my toe in the water type of you dig. To still make my parents proud, to still not feel dirty. Because, a lot of people say when they meet queer women, it's well, who sexually assaulted you? Who made you turn that way? And I never wanted my trauma as a kid to be indicative of my sexuality as an adult. So I was like, if I'm bisexual and pansexual, you can't really attach this to that because I'm not gay. The whole time I was gay. So that was my introduction to sexuality.
Okay. Holly Berry Dairy.
That's a really interesting question. I think that I first started coming to terms with my own sexuality. I've been gay since I can damn remember. I don't think there's ever been an instance where I didn't feel like I wasn't flamboyant, or I wasn't, like feminine, right? I remember my mother took me to go see the Rugrats movie. I can't remember what year that was. I just remember we were leaving the theater, and Take You There was playing. And so I'm singing the song, take me now, wanna go now. And I guess some of my moves were too feminine for her. And she like smacked the hell out of me, like in the back of my head, to the point that I stumbled into one of the seats. And I turned around and I said, why did you hit me? She like, girls do that. Girls dance like that. You don't dance like that. So that was the first time I said, oh shit, this is wrong? Am I not supposed to dance to music that I enjoy? Is there a certain way I'm supposed to dance because I'm in a male presenting body? Like what does that mean? And so I think it was that day that I started to say, okay, I'm different, right? And I mean, there's another story, I guess, around that same time. I had to be super young. I remember his name was Eric. I don't know what he had. If he's watching the virtual world, what's up, Eric? It's been a long time, baby. But I had to be in like all the kindergarten, and me and Eric used to like duck off under the table and like kiss and stuff, and like
what?
Before we did that, like we would argue all the time in class. Like we would fight, like, literally fist fight, and then we'll like make up under the table. Like it was, I guess I was introduced to toxic relationships as a child. But I remember like one of the girls peeked on there, was like, everybody can hear you guys under here making noises saying, and I'm like, damn, why are you airing our shit out, sis? You mad? So the first times I can remember as a young person finding out about my sexuality.
I love that. I love that. Like when it comes down to like being a child and just like knowing the things you do and talk about people hear you, like kissing and things that we feel like innocent, but we're still kids and we have desires, but it was just with, another boy. So that's just interesting that, that's still even you're a kid even. And I've heard those things as well. So Evan, what is your experience?
Yeah, I actually kind of have a similar experience to Darius in that I kind of have always known because the adults in my life were telling me that I was, and highlighting my behavior and my mannerisms to the point where I always knew that there was something that was wrong that I was doing, and I didn't know what it was. To the point of, being 3 years old going into preschool and my dad being like, oh, be careful, don't go in there and be a sissy like you are at home. And I'm like, well, what is that? I have no idea what I'm doing. It's that type of behavior. And it's ironic because my parents have become such great allies and we've really had great conversations. But early on, like I get in trouble for playing with Barbie dolls. I get in trouble for switching, or my wrist being limp was always an issue. And I have an older brother who I'm incredibly close with. So we were always contrasted in that way because he was like really into sports. And I was like, I want to draw and sing and dance. I want to do all these other things. Ironically, I went through puberty and then like I was taller and I was more athletic. So I was able to kind of hide behind that for a long time. Going into college, I started to really embrace my queerness. And that's kind of when I started to really acknowledge my sexuality. But before that, I was just trying to do anything and everything to kind of suppress it, pray it away. I was like, by 21, I'm not going to be gay anymore at all. And I'm somebody who experienced, I feel, pansexual. So I do also have romantic attraction, have had romantic relationships with women. So even that, I was like, it's very similar to Jaha. I was very much like, oh, well, like, I'll just put that behind me and really focus on that and it won't be an issue. One thing about gay is you really can't get rid of it. You can't really outrun it. So it caught up to me in a way that allowed me to really become the person I am. And through that and through me being embracing the person and showing how much I'm loving myself in it, everybody around me has really been great in embracing me. So me and my dad, we have long conversations about stuff that happened in my childhood that was traumatic now, and we kind of dissect why it was problematic. And he's like, damn, that's crazy. I was just trying to protect you in this weird way that I didn't really know what to do. Nobody told me how to raise a queer child. So all of that to say, that's kind of when I started to really deal with it, think about it. It was never a moment in my life where it wasn't something that I was thinking about.
Across the board, everyone's saying thus far that it's just one of those things that, from childhood that you felt and you've always felt this way. So it's something that I've always like hated because in my life, I've had people who are very close to me who are queer. I have uncles, like people who are very close to me, who I love very dearly, who I look up to. everyone just says, it's just those things that, you've always felt this way. So it's not necessarily a choice. For some people it is, but, a lot of the times this is who you are from when you're born, and that's the way that God has blessed you to be. So that's one way that I've seen it. So I've always been biased to those things because I've seen it so closely for people that I care about. So I'm excited to hear from the panel as well. Libby, let's hear from you.
So for me, I really kind of like found out like what sexuality meant to me personally, like around 13, 12. Before then, I always looked at women and was like, I always loved women and in general and stuff like that, and men and all that stuff. I looked at everybody and thought everybody was attractive. So around like 13 in middle school, when everybody was like, it was popular to, I don't know, it was like cool to be bisexual. There were a lot of people that were saying like they were bisexual, and I was like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? And my friend told me, and I was like, well, I agree with that. I like both. I like, men and women. And my friend's like, you do? And I'm like, yeah. So from there, I identified as bisexual, but I didn't really like understand what that meant, I guess, until I was like 16. And that's when I like really started to I like had my first girl crush, and then I like had a secret girlfriend and stuff like that. And I was thankfully brought up in an environment where it was acceptable, but for whatever reason, I never like talked to anybody about it. I was just kind of scared that like, what if there's the off chance that they don't like it, or this, that, the other thing. Like, I've never talked about it with my parents before. So it's like, how do I
So your
bring that
parents
up?
never said this is like gay, or this is like straight, or like this is like give you an example?
They did, because I grew up in theater. So there were a lot of gay people around me. So when I saw two men kissing one day, my mom was like, oh, they're gay. And I was like, oh, what is that? And my mom told me what that was. And then my mom was like, your uncle's gay. I have a gay uncle. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So
my mom did that too.
Like,
yeah, they tell you somebody, you're like, so-and-so's gay. You're like, oh, I love them. Okay.
Right, yeah. I was like, cool. Like, it didn't really mean anything to me. I was just a kid.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love my uncle. Shit, I love my uncle. So, okay, that's beautiful. All right, Deja, you laughing. When did you find out about sexuality?
Oh, well, you know what? I grew up in single parent home. My mom never talked to me about sexuality at all. By the time she tried to talk to me, it was too late. I was already doing what I was going to do.
You said you was getting sexuality, huh?
It was, don't do that. But so sixth grade. And I think this is like really important for everybody who plans on becoming a parent. I feel like, me personally, once you start growing pubic hair, it's probably time to start talking to your kids about sex. Because I was in sixth grade, and I remember seeing this boy named Courtney and a girl named Tanya, and they used to date, as they would call it. As much as you could in elementary school, they was dating. And I remember he slapped her butt, and I was like, what? And then, like, from my distant memory, I just remember he was like, yeah, I be tearing that thing up. And I'm like, tearing what up? What do you mean? What is you tearing up? I don't understand. We at school. So I really didn't understand until I was like, so then the conversation with it started at school. So if I could, how old are you at sixth grade? Maybe like 11 or 12. So I'm thinking like, and it's unfortunate because I feel like my mom did her best when it came to, stuff like that, but she just didn't know. Like, due to other kids and other fundamentals of childhood, I found out about something that most people would think is not appropriate at that age. So I'm going to go ahead and say probably 12, I found out about sexuality, but I never questioned my own because I knew I like boys. So I was just like, I like boys. I think boys is cute. I personally don't look at a female and think anything past of, oh, she's pretty. Well, I'm pretty too, so I'll be like, oh, let's be friends. That's where my mind goes and doesn't go anywhere else. So.
Oh, how straight of you! You're pretty. I'm pretty. We balance. Oh, we're so straight. How straight of you, Deja? Very straight of you. I'm fucking with you. All right. Fit Hollywood, what's up with you?
As far as being introduced to sexuality or first finding out about it, similar to like Darius, it came from like a movie for me, like initially. I don't know if y'all know, I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. It came out in like 07. Don't laugh at me. It's damn near a bad movie, but I love that movie though. But it introduced me to sexuality, like all parts of it, and I like the messages sent. Cause I mean, shit, love is love, you know.
That is so funny. Oh my god, how straight of you too. Not I pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
Yeah, that's my movie though. But yeah, and that was in like what 07. So I had to be like 11, 12 around that age. But yeah, that's when I was like really introduced to sexuality.
All right, Danielle.
Okay, so mine's like kind of twofold. I genuinely had to like think about this for like a while. That's why I had my deep thinking face on, because I had no idea. But I think, like everyone had said, like I kind of knew as long as I remembered, like that I like had huge crushes on boys. Like when I was like 7 years old, my across the street neighbor was the same age as me. He had tons of guy friends that were over. We'd always like play baseball, like whatever. But I think I first kind of learned what it was, and this is going to be really fucking corny, but like from watching Seventh Heaven, because they were all dating a million people all the time. I know, very, very suburban girl of me to be sitting there watching Seventh Heaven on school nights, but I just thought that always made sense. I was like, oh. So I always thought that made sense, and I was like, okay, whatever, like, that'll be me when I'm older. But I think I never asked anyone about it, but in like 6th or 7th grade, when they do the whole like sex ed puberty talk in health class, I remember they sent us home with like this like paper that told your parents, like, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. And me and my friend were playing in my treehouse, and her and I were like reading this list before giving it to my mom. And I remember she was trying to explain some of the things to me on the list and just like tell me what they were. And like, I had never like heard anything before. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, she gave me all false information. Like she confused menstruation with like a million other things. So it's a good thing I never listened to that girl. But that was when I really first learned about everything, was I think between 7th Heaven and health class.
Love that.
It's embarrassing. Like,
no, it's not. Cringy. It's interesting. It's TV and the things that you watch. I remember my mom was like doing my hair. She was like, "You see, that's Ellen. She's gay." I said, "Oh, I like Ellen. That's cool. I like the Ellen show." And she like, you know, your family member, your uncle. I'm like, "Oh, I love my uncle. Okay, that's cool. Okay, he's just a kid. It is what it is." But it's like, you know, that is why. But if you have people who like, "That's Ellen."
A family member, like, hey, this person's gay. Like, you got gay uncles. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it's like, all right, but then if you have family members who are like, that's Ellen, she's an abomination, she's from the pits of hell, and you're like, oh, fuck Ellen. You know, but I'm for real. But that's how people, it depends. I'm bit cute.
No,
come on
you
now.
are spot on, because that's how the hell homophobia starts. It starts in so how.
What you saying?
Yes.
Yeah, we're just very aware. But Q, go ahead. Q, talk to me about this. How you feel about this? When did you first learn about sexuality? Take us away.
I first learned about sexuality kind of like mimicking, to be honest, like just being a kid and just seeing movies and just seeing like the basics of just like what you think like romance and love is, whatever in your head, it like in your kid mind at that time, you know what I mean? So I used to like, you know, hold hands with girls preschool, first grade, like get kisses on the cheeks and shit, like just like low key, just funny stuff. But like it really hit for me probably, I want to say like 5th grade maybe, because I mean, short little story. Like, I mean, my mom used to work as a like a security officer basically for high school, back in the day, and like it was just east side of Detroit, old school, called Finney High School, and fucking I used to just be wandering around sometimes in the basketball gym, but I kind of just got adopted by the group of cheerleaders, and like I just realized that like women are just fucking just they're just so beautiful, like their essence, their everything about them, like just so beautiful, and like they're nurturing, just their natural self is just like amazing, and like learning about like things at a young age from high schoolers, like at that age, just like hearing things and stories, and it was just like a little too profound from my mind. I was like, wow. So like, I felt like these girls were like, or at least one of them or something was my girlfriend. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was just like having my imaginary like you know what I mean, situation. But like yeah, like basically that time younger, just seeing people be like, and even through movies and like seeing same gender people being together, because I have an uncle that's also gay, and he's also told me his experience too, and it's it's just amazing. But yeah, like just a youngin, just seeing people love on each other basically is how it happened.
So again, just learning from one another and each other. So all right, so that's the first icebreaker. So y'all all answered that so nice and so kind, and everybody's family is so cool and so this and that. But okay, next question, next thing I got for y'all is, now, do you feel that sexuality needs to be categorized? Now we're here because there's a lot of different sexualities and different ways that you can identify. Do you feel that they need to have categories? I'm just going to say it just that bluntly. All right. Halle Berry Dairy, how you feel about this?
Child. Folks need to mind fake business. Like,
period.
It shouldn't matter that I am a gay or straight. Like, it don't really fucking matter. It is a social construct, just like a lot of this shit in this world, in this country, in the Western world, that has to name something to call it something to have a prejudice towards it, I feel like, right? And so I think that while, okay, being able to title it, categorize it is a thing, I still feel like it's on the person. It is literally your business who you lay with. It is nobody else's. And the moment that our society decides to mind the business that pays you,
that part,
be able to be like, all right, cool, let's dismantle this shit and call it something, or call it. It doesn't even need to be called anything. That's the thing.
No.
But yeah, that's my thoughts. So I'm gonna kick it to my son.
I mean, it's about to sound like the passion and the fire, because I very much agree with that. I think categories, if I can, curse, are bullshit. I think in general that they're really, really limiting. We all have different experiences, and some of them pull us together. So in that sense, they might be a little bit helpful, because you might find like partners in whatever you've experienced. But I think past that point, they're pointless, because nobody's so fixed that they're the same thing tomorrow as they were today. And I think especially how I experience sexuality, it's changing even within my relationship. One day I may feel way less sexually inclined, and that feels like that's what's defining me that day. So even under my queer umbrella identity, I'm like, well, I don't feel this, whatever this is that I said I was yesterday today, So I think that we need to give people space to evolve and change and experience life in a way that they don't feel like they have to be so stagnant and fixed in something. I think it's nice to kind of feel flexibility and the ability to be what you want to be. So no, I personally don't really believe in categories. I think that, on the surface, they might be helpful in terms of discussing your past with a partner, which I think is essential. I think that if you're going to have sex with anybody, you should be honest about who you've had sex with. But past that point, I don't think that those categories need to be discussed or lived by.
And I just want to add a little bit to what that was saying, that there are some that I do buy into, right? Like, I absolutely love celebrating my blackness, my queerness, however the hell I decide to define it, my masculinity, however I decide to define it, femininity, all that. I like to define it how the fuck I want to. Oh, I'm sorry, China.
Don't be sorry. No, I said you're fine.
Okay. However way in which that I want to, right? And so there are some that's like, boom, I'm queer, and this is what my queerness looks like. This is how I show up in my queerness, and I don't give a damn what anybody got to say about it, because it's mine, right? But it's still, folks, man, they business.
Mind it.
All right. So you don't feel that it needs to be like an identifier, like for sexuality in general, like at all. So in a world, would you prefer for people you not to be identified as gay or queer? Would you like prefer those things not to exist at all?
I'm just interested in who the hell coined it.
Okay.
Why is this? Who made it a thing?
So do we know that? Do you know by any chance?
I don't think I do. Well, I'm not like, what power and privilege does this person hold, or these people, whoever?
That's interesting to think about.
Yeah, who created these categories?
Yeah, because it continues on, and I'd be like trying to be respectful, and I'd be fucking it up.
And for some be like, oh yeah, well that's gay, oh that's straight, and straight is this, and straight.
Like, can it just be human, man? Can it just be human?
Can we just all love each other?
Yeah.
On top of that,
okay.
I mean, human experience isn't a monolith, so I mean, it's kind of pointless to the point where it's like no two people are alike. So even doing that work, like you're this and you're this too, it's like, well, no, we're different. So it feels infinitely pointless. Just like, I mean, it makes it easier for people to put you in a box sooner. It makes you more navigatable for other people. So, you know, I think that it's worth doing the work to get to know people personally instead of just, you know, relying on lazy labels or stereotypes that you have about them based on whatever category you put them in.
Yeah, and all people do is complain mostly. So that's what I'm saying. People with stuff. All right, Danielle, do you feel that sexuality needs to be categorized?
I just think it's weird that, like, honestly, people feel the need to like label other people when it comes to something that like isn't their concern. I've said it on my podcast like 150 times. I feel like whatever people want to do, I am happy for them as long as they're happy, safe, and comfortable. I don't have an issue with literally anything as long as someone is not trying to like physically force me to do something that I'm not comfortable with. It's no one else's business. So like, I'm very much, if you would like to categorize yourself, that's totally fine. But I don't think it's like anyone has like the authority or the place to need to categorize anyone else.
So for dating, do you need that to be categorized, or do you just date men of all sexualities, or you don't need that to be categorized? Like, would you date a man who's like bi, or, you know, identifies as not just straight or cisgender? Do you need those as a straight woman?
I feel like I've never come across it. Honestly, I think one thing, like, I am a very like self-conscious person about a lot of things. So I think if I were dating someone that was bisexual, I would be happy that they were doing what they wanted to do, but I would be afraid, like, on my end, that like I wasn't giving them everything that they wanted as a partner. But if that's what you would like, then I think that's totally fine.
And that's fine. But I'm saying, but do you feel like you need those identifiers? Because I think about that, I would need those. I agree with everyone else. Like, yo, I feel you. But sometimes it's a fine line for me of my preferences of dating. Like, if I want to date someone who is like bi or not. I haven't necessarily came across someone who I've like wanted to date, but it's been people who wanted to date me, or that I've been out on a date with someone who told me they're bi before. It was just a new experience for me, and I didn't know how I felt about it, and it never happened again. So like, that's why I was like, you know, sometimes I was like, I feel like it can be helpful in those ways for what people have preferences for. So that's why I wanted to ask someone who identifies as I do as well. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. And I think if you're in a situation like that, I think if you're comfortable sharing it, you should. But like I said, like, I would have nothing against it. I would just like personally feel like I wasn't giving my partner everything they wanted if they were bisexual, because obviously, like,
why?
I don't have a dick. Like, I can't, if they.
But that doesn't mean that. But then doesn't that sound? But I got beaten up for like saying this before to people when I worked politics. Now I'm a Democrat, so I got beat up because people was beating me down, saying it was wrong for me to kind of feel uncomfortable. But you just said because you think he's gonna want a dick. But I'm like, they saying that don't mean that. That's just saying that every gay guy's gonna want every guy, or every gay girl gonna want every girl.
Yeah.
No,
but they could just want you then, right?
Well, I guess so. What I'm saying is, like, I do know people who are bisexual that have been in heterosexual relationships who have talked about it on my show, who have said it's tough for them to, like, sometimes if they're in a heterosexual relationship, like, they do sometimes miss like hooking up with women, and they want to hook up with women and men. So I just wouldn't want my partner to feel like held back if they wanted to hook up with someone that could give them what I couldn't.
Okay.
But I wouldn't want to feel like I'm holding them back, but I'm also like, I'm too jealous for an open relationship situation. I could never give that the okay, like I am the star of the show. Like I couldn't do that, but I wouldn't want to take someone.
Have somebody want to piggyback. Go ahead.
But I was gonna say, Danielle, there are alternatives, girl. Like I know a lot of queer men or queer identified men who are still extremely interested in women, who still date women. And if that arises, you know what I'm saying, buckle up. and thing. For real.
No, I agree. I think for me, I'm very partner centric. So whenever I'm with somebody, I really focus on that person. So while I do have attraction to other people, like surface level attraction, it's never deeper than just like, oh, that's like a cute girl. Oh, that's a cute boy. Like, so if I'm with somebody, I'm very much focused on them and attracted to them. And I mean, maybe I'm unique in that way. I feel very blessed in that. I feel confident in my partner decision, and I'm happy where I'm at. But it's never been for me. I mean, like, I feel like if you're with somebody and they feel like, oh, I want to be with this, whatever, that's some of the stuff. I don't think it's necessarily defined by their sexuality. I think that that's something internal. And you would probably have a similar issue with that person if they identified as straight. They'd probably be like, well, I want to do this, that, whatever with somebody else because that's just what they like. So I do think that everybody's different. I think that there are some people out there who would really love to cherish a relationship with just one person.
I have
really
a question
you.
for you. Have you ever came across somebody who had an issue with? You said you're identified as pansexual.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had an issue with anyone dating a woman who had a problem with that or anything?
I mean, yeah. So I had one relationship where I was dating somebody for a while, and then it came up. She asked me, and I was honest about it, and we're still close to this day. But she felt very uncomfortable with it, which I also understood.
Do you mind sharing me? Can you share with us how that went? I'm nosy. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. Can you say that again?
Would you mind sharing with us how that went? Like, how did she approach it? I like to hear what other ladies say, so I'm nosy.
Yeah. I mean, we were literally at dinner, you know, kicking it, just talking about just different stuff. And she was like, hey, like,
because you're very handsome. You're very handsome. You're irresistible, I'm sure. And you be modeling too. I looked at, don't do that. Okay. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm getting off topic.
No, thank you. I mean, for me, that also kind of brings it up a lot more because oftentimes, especially when I was younger, when I entered space, a lot of the girls were very interested in pursuing me, which was also another blessing too. So it was always something people asked me. So when she was like, I have a question for you, I was like, I know what question this is. I got this question since I was 15, every time I did anything. So she was like, well, like, I wanted to know, are you bisexual? Which I thought was interesting. She didn't just say, like, oh, are you gay? Or are you queer? Like, she said, are you bisexual? Are you interested in women? And we've been physical at that point, too, before this, because we kind of just, like, had a crush on each other, kind of flirted, and then we, like, met up at a party, and things happened. So she was like, well, I do feel you're attracted to me in that way, but are you? You know, I was like, yeah, I am, but I'm very interested in pursuing you. And she was like, okay, that's cool. We kind of like kissed, we finished the date, and we're still friends. But she felt like at that point she wasn't in space to kind of be in a partnership like that. And again, you know, I'm also somebody, I'm very transparent when I date people. In early stages, I'm a Virgo, so I like to have my options in front of me and make my best decision. So it's also transparent. I was like, yeah, I'm talking to this other girl, I'm talking to this guy, and I feel like I want you to know these things because if we do get sexual, I want you to feel comfortable with the other type of sex I'm having, which I think is the most important thing. So she decided she wasn't comfortable with it, and I don't fault her for that. I do know other women that are very much open to it. I know other queer women that experience pansexuality and appreciate kind of my perspective and experience in a way that allows us to have that intimacy if it comes up. I'm currently in a monogamous relationship with a man, though. Okay. So if he's watching this, I don't want him to think I'm saying other.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
I'm very loyal.
I have to do those caveats on YouTube as well. So no, you're fine. Very respectful. These are just for informative, and I appreciate that. Okay, so we're not gonna keep fucking up your flow. All right, Jaha Berry, go ahead, take us away. Do you feel like sexuality needs to be categorized?
I feel like our privilege at all times should be checked, right? Because I have recently entered a wonderful monogamous relationship with a woman, but she is a mask presenting lesbian person. So the ways in which misogyny endanger her are different from the ways in which misogyny endanger me. I think that
Okay, hold on. You just broke this down so beautifully, but like you got to dumb it down a little bit more for me.
I got you. No, I got you. So does everyone know what a stud is?
Yes. Yes.
Does everyone know what a femme is?
Yes.
Yes.
So not all of the women that I date identify as studs, but all of them are masculine presenting. So they are treated as studs, right? And there are ways in which men are openly violent in a you are a fellow man, I'm gonna put my hands on you type of way that they are not with me. So when I talk about misogyny as a thing that endangers me, it is not the same for a masculine presenting woman that I'm dating. And I need to check my privilege about that. The privilege of being hetero passing, that type of you dig. I do think that there are so many more genders and sexual orientations for us to discover that the categories we have currently are less limiting, but still limiting. Like our language will never be able to express people's lived experience. This is the first year that people who are not queer are acknowledging that non-binary exists, right? So we haven't done all the work. But the categories limit us and expose us in different ways. The categories limit us in a way where they don't describe everyone's experience, but they open us up to thinking about the fact that there's an experience outside of ours that is worth exploring.
That's interesting that you're saying the treatment of how women are treated by how they're outwardly presenting and not just as a woman in general. That's just so interesting that you said that. And I've never thought about that. But I can see how that is a thing, for sure. So thank you for sharing that. That never like put two and two together for me. Deja, how does that sound for you? How you feel about this?
Sounds good to me. Mind the business that pays you.
That's what I'm saying. People don't, and they be so broke, and they be trying to like pay and
like that.
scrape recorders in your business.
Legit. That's
looking for the magic $2 bill in your business.
Legit. Like,
can I add some common sense? Can I add some common sense too?
Go ahead.
We don't categorize these beautiful animals in nature. To be honest, we don't. These animals choose who they have sexual relations with,
but they do categorize them. They call them mammals. They call them insects. They call them arachnids. They do.
I'm saying.
But everything has a category, though. But I'm saying they do. But you can explain one more time.
I'm saying we don't hold these animals to these standards, of course, as humans for some reason. But I just think it's the same level of understanding, the same concept. We're all have this free will, free mind, and experience of whatever we're going to deal with. Like, I don't understand why there's so much hate involved. I think categorizing sexuality is very fear-based, a very fear-based concept.
Okay, but you know why all the hate is involved, and who'll be hateful about it? Our own people. Let's get real. You be real. So go ahead, talk about it.
But I can talk like community, and I can talk worldly. Like it's many races. Hate is hate. You know what I mean?
But I think we can only talk of our own. Again, just as I said, urban platform. But again, we be hearing it from our own people.
Yeah. So
it's the worst. It's the worst.
My personal thing about it is, which is like why I agree with Holly Berry Dairy, because first of all, mind your business. For those of you who don't know, I'm in an interracial relationship. I got treated by my own people like I was doing something wrong. Pause. He loved me. He don't put his hands on me. He love all of this. He don't be trying to he love all the blackness. Okay.
Look, here she go.
So literally, when I look at it, it's like we going to the grocery store. When I go to the grocery store and you got all these people in the grocery store, I'm not about to point out, he gay. She gay. No, I don't do that. So I feel like it's the concept of mind your business. As long as you don't try, I'm straight as a bone. As long as you don't try to, because I've had females come to me and try to turn me. I'm like, no, sis, I'm not that.
Here she, no, she didn't say as a bone. Not as a bone.
If I'ma spend, I gotta pay for some friends. Let me pay for some friends. If I'ma spend, shot a brain, your friend.
Not as a bone.
I'm not that. And what I find is most common is, or sorry, not common, wrong word. What I find is the most important thing to do is have communication with people, because it's the same thing as like if a dude try to hit on you, China, you be like, no, I'm not interested. All right, keep it moving. If a girl tried to hit on me, I say, no, I'm not interested.
Oh no, I've had some young ladies try to hit on me. I just be like, listen, that's just not my thing.
Yeah, so it's just like, I'm not interested.
For whatever reason, not very common. I don't know.
Exactly. But it's just like, if you're not interested, you're not interested. It's not because, well, in my case, it would be because I'm not gay. But even if I am gay, I don't have to be attracted to you because I'm gay. I mean, I just think you ugly. You're not my type. Boom. That's it. So, and that's just what it is. So do I think it needs to be categorized? No. Mind your business.
And I wanna echo with my sister, because I feel like there in the Black community, as it pertains to Black cis hetero men, right? That is kind of a stigma when it comes to queer men. Like they get uncomfortable, or they feel like, oh, he gonna try with me, and like, no, like we know,
like, nigga, we know you ugly,
right?
We know you ugly, or we know if you gonna play with the kids,
right?
We know,
and that's it. And then they be trying to hate. Don't hate because you ugly. Don't do that.
Hey, ugly men always have the most audacity. They always do.
Like, if you ugly, you ugly.
I think that it turns nasty when it becomes violent, right, in the language or in the resistance. Because, like you said, it can easily be, I'm not interested. But
that's
like
it.
our community, if somebody tries and maybe they took a shot, right? Oh, yeah. Hold on. I was just trying to, okay, it's not that. All right, cool. A queer person will keep moving, and I feel like it always goes back to, I gotta protect my man. I'm a man. I'll beat this gay nigga up. Woo. It should never be that. Like, you can say no and keep it moving. Like, I have a lot of straight friends, a lot of queer friends. A queer friend might be interested in a straight friend. Straight friend be like, nah, I'm good, bro. And it's keeping it moving, literally.
Okay, can you talk about you're part of a wonderful organization, of course. Can you talk about how it was being queer and being a part of that, or was it ever an issue, or
for me?
For you.
It was an issue. It was an issue in one of my first pursuits. It was an issue even after. I think that a large part of it is just because there's such a nasty stigma, like I said, that's related to queerness, that a lot of people have not taken the time or energy to unlearn. Right? So if it's something that you don't agree with, that's perfectly fine. There are a lot of things in people's lives I don't agree with, but I'm gonna mind my goddamn business because that's what I'm supposed to do. But there was a situation where like a screenshot had got like sent around of me saying I like had on a dress or something. I get it, but it was just the fact that like that was a thing. It was like sent around, and they were like trying to verify if I was like legitimate, and it's like, you don't got nothing to do on this Tuesday evening, right? I'm in grad school. I'm getting.
Oh, you grown girl.
My phone broke this stuff, and I'm like, you don't got nothing better to do. And so I just was like, well, let me take a step back and let you all know that I am queer. I'm a proud queer man, proud queer Black man in this organization, and I will hit you in your mouth.
Period. Or I will shoot you because I ain't got no time. I keep the piece on me.
I can't say that on camera. But
I'm sorry.
Daisha always says she'll shoot somebody. She'll say it for you.
That's the American way, Deja. That's the American way.
Second Amendment.
I was arguing with those people. There was a huge amount of people that showed such support. You feel me? That was just like, I got you. Don't worry about that. It is what it is type shit. So
super happy that you had that support, because ain't nothing like being by yourself. It's terrible.
Yeah. I just don't get why people care so much. Like that's like right. I just
it's
genuinely
it's something inside them. Something inside.
It's like I will always just think it's weird that you care so much. Like if you weren't doing anything to like force anyone to do something they were uncomfortable with. You were just doing what you wanted to do. Like that is what like always makes me the most mad.
Libby Rose, go ahead.
Okay, so here's
Okay, go ahead.
Oh shit.
All right, Libby Rose and then Jahab, go ahead. Go ahead, Libby.
It's just I was just gonna say like it sexuality is just so fluid. It like I know for me like it kind of changes per day who I'm attracted to, and it like doesn't really matter to me. It matters if you treat me right. Just treat me right. That's all.
Okay,
Like,
so
don't
that takes
be
me
an
to my
asshole.
next question. That's a nice segue. Can sexuality change / in time over time, Olivia?
I think, yeah. I think for somebody who's like more fluid, if you know that, like, for example, if you know that you're gay, you know you're gay. Um, I have a lot of gay relatives, but for somebody like me, I was never like I like one gender. Or I just like people. I kind of realized that more like as an adult. I think I realized I was pansexual when I was 20. And I didn't even know what that meant. But over time, from when I
Explain
was
that.
like 13 to
What is pansexual?
it's um basically I'm just attracted to people in general. I'm not really attracted to a specific gender. I'm attracted to all walks of life. If I'm attracted to personality, like certain types of personalities, like somebody who's eccentric and loves life and adventure and all that stuff and all that cheesy romantic movie stuff. But um, yeah, I like all types of people.
All right, all types of people. All right, Jaha Berry, go ahead. Take us away for the Berry family. Can
So,
sexuality change over time and in time?
uh, um, I don't know if sexuality changes over time, more so that our vocabulary expands over time. Because before we had terms like transgendered and non-binary and asexual and pansexual, people were already living those lives. There
That's
was
very real. Human
there,
nature has always been the same. I've told everyone ever since the Bible, whatever you want to say.
Biblical terms, yeah.
Human nature has never changed. It's just the way that we can explain it.
Yeah.
and I think that by acknowledging that other types of people exist, we lessen the boundaries that we put on people's lives, which allows them to have the ability to live in their truth more freely, which then in turn makes someone who identifies as bisexual be like, you know what, I am pansexual because I'm attracted to trans folks and non-binary folks and asexual folks. So, I mean, I think that was my experience. I don't think I realized that you can be a lesbian person and still be a human being. So I don't think I was a pansexual person, then a bisexual person, then a lesbian. I think I was always a lesbian, but I was a very scared one.
Okay. So you started to what we talked about a little bit before. You started to warm up and started to really living your truth, and that's really all that matters. Evan, you want to take us away with that, and then Holly Berry Dairy will end off with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me at least, I think that sexuality is something that's innate within you. I think that you always have the capacity to like what you like. So I think that if somebody does start to discover, like me, I realized I was pan when I was attracted to a trans woman for the first time. I was like, wow, she's gorgeous. I want to get to know her. I think that we could actually have a relationship. And that's when I kind of was like, I need to start broadening what I am and actually explore it. But before then, I didn't even know. I had never met somebody that I was attracted to. So I think the capacity for that was always in me. What I do think changes is sexual attraction and expression. And by that, I mean, I think as you go about your life, you become attracted to different things. So if you're around a certain type of person in a certain circumstance, you might be very attracted to that type of person. And if I think of like age, I can think of my parents. My dad was telling me he was fortunate because he feels like he's been able to be attracted to my mom at every stage of their relationship. And, they started dating, they were like 26 and they're about to be 60. And so he's like, I'm very attracted to her as a 60-year-old woman now. When I was your age, that's not what I would have felt. So I think in that way, yeah, I think that sexuality and the way you act with it, the way it motivates you, inspires you, and it would really attract you to it, and expressing it does change.
All right, Holly Berry Dairy.
I don't think that sexuality can change per se. I think it's preference, it's curiosity. I think that's what shifts. Well, you know what? Okay, in my own experience, I don't ever foresee myself wanting to date a woman, right? Women are beautiful. Women run the world. But I think in terms of sexuality, like my sexuality, I feel as though it will continue to be. But like Evan said, pansexuality is a thing, and I think that is a thing that develops. Like you don't even know that it's about to happen. Like, oh, I'm interested in this person. Why? This is different, right? And I think that in terms of that question, that's what, like, it doesn't change, but it can evolve, or preference can evolve.
All right, preference can evolve. Q swap. How you feel about this?
You guys all made amazing points, to be honest. I'm still in the same boat as you guys, to be honest. Like, well, personally, I don't believe it could like change for me just because I have my preference. Like, I've been curious. I see people as people too. You know what I mean? Everyone is beautiful in their own way, and I prefer what I prefer. So I keep it as simple as that. To be honest, I don't believe it can change. It's just what you prefer.
All right, it's just your preference. It is what you prefer. All right, Danielle.
I completely agree with Q with what he just said. I mean, I personally don't think that it would ever change for me, but that is not to say that like I can say that someone else's preferences or how they feel would not change. I think personally, like I know that that won't change for me, but like we've been saying this whole time, it's none of anyone's business. So like if you feel like it's changing for you, that's fine. Like that doesn't impact me. It's your feelings and what you want to do. So I 100% agree with what kind of everyone said.
All right,
If you feel like it changes, if not, that's okay.
All right, go ahead. You got something?
And I think that that's such an important thing to say is like, you are the only definer of your life, right? Like when it comes to vocabulary and things like that, or even AAVE, we have people and sources to look to create those definitions for us. But when it comes to your lived experience, your sexuality, nobody has the agency or sovereignty to tell you what your experience is. So, and it's harder for queer folks, right? And then on top of that, Black queer folks and young Black queer folks to understand what agency looks like when you're still living at home, or when you're going to college and wearing your letters and you're not really able to be open about everything, right? So going in with the understanding of my experience is that my sexuality didn't change, but that my understanding of myself changed. And for some people, their actual sexuality or their understanding of sexuality itself shifted. But you are the author of your own story.
Because none of this shit is set in stone. There is no instruction manual to none of this shit. Like, you're literally learning and defining it as you move through it. Like I said, 3 years ago in my queerness, I would never imagine I'll be sitting on this damn panel talking about being queer and holding space in a full beat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never would have, I never thought
Oh, that's so beautiful. And for me to ask you, I was like, of course, like, you know, I'm excited, but, you know, that's just so interesting for you to say. But that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful.
No, for
I'm
sure.
happy.
For folks that don't know, me and China, we went to school together. So, like,
Yes.
for a minute now.
Yes. So it's always nice, you know, to like be able to do these things. And that's the perfect segue for what we're going to get into now. So, all right, you old straight old cisgender folks, we're going to have some more stuff to talk about. We're about to go ahead and get into our next segment, our second segment.
If I'ma spend, I gotta pay for some friends. Let me pay for some friends. If I'ma spend, shot a brain, your friend.
All right, so of course we have our special guest here. We have the House of Berry, and it's spelled Haus, and it's a certain thing that we need to talk about. It's something that we need to discuss about what this is, why does this exist. So, Holly Berry Dairy, can you please explain to us what is a house? Why does it exist? You're saying you have children. Explain this to the straights. They're not understanding here. What's happening here? What is this? What do we do here? Explain from Rootum to Tootum. You got time. Go ahead.
Explain this to the streets. I love it. So a house is a collective or a group of individuals who come together under like mind who don't find community or family elsewhere. Houses are usually formed when there are no other places for these people to go, usually queer, trans, bi, people identified, right? And so the inception of a house, which originated in ballroom culture, to come together and just celebrate and be who we want to be, right? That is what ballroom was, for queer people to come together and be femme and be drag and be their best, most authentic trans self. There was no spaces like that. There was no opportunities for them to be like that because the world is out here beating us down, killing us, you know? And so houses are so important because now here's an opportunity for us who have connected to build something together, right? The House of Berry is not a traditional ballroom house, right? We have a ballroom sector, but that hasn't been my focus and foundation. It has literally been a collective of mentees I've gathered in all of my youth development artistic work. Like I just have always found people in the artistic realms I've kind of gravitated towards. I've kind of taken a mentorship over. It happens weirdly, and I want Evan and Jaha to speak to that as well once I do wrap up. But the house is literally folks who come together to love fiercely, authentically, and raw, right? I think that the House of Berry specifically is rooted in talent and beauty and authenticity and transparency. And how can we do this together? How can we succeed together? Because thinking about China's initial invite, I could have just got on here myself and represented the house, right? But I was like, I got some kids who are extremely profound, who are extremely talented, who I think can even add way more to the conversation. Yes, see Pose on FX. Pose just ended. I am distraught. But yes, Pose, Paris is Burning. Like, watch these and add these to your toolkits to truly understand queer culture, ballroom culture, and why it is what it is. I was having a conversation with a friend recently, was like, yo, Pose really made me uplift and love on trans women in a way in which I didn't even pay attention to, that I wasn't doing. And so representation like that matters so much. And why do houses exist? To love on each other, to hold each other, to be safe, to think of ways in which we can take up space in the world as a united front.
So do they go as deeply, I watch Pose, do they go as deeply as living with one another and truly, having like a place where people sleep, or how deep can it get?
It's totally up to the head of house or the mother or father of the house, the way in which they want the house to operate. Right now, I don't have all the financial backings that I would like to have with all my children to live with me one day, hopefully. But it's
so how does that? So like, is there ways to like? Okay, I was gonna go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Let's be clear. If I needed a place to stay, Darius, I think all right. To interject real quick, right?
Go ahead.
Darius sells himself short as a father. Growing up, I did not have a great relationship with my father at all, not even a little bit. And at the time that I met Darius, I was 16, and I was entering this little poetry festival, this international poetry festival. And I had all this energy, all this spunk, and nowhere to put it towards. And Darius honed the freak out of me. Like really showed up for me. There was never a time where I felt like I was alone. After the day that I met him when I was 16, I never felt like I didn't have a father. So in the way of like, do we live together? No. Are we siblings? Yes. Do we ride for each other? Yes. Do we help each other create art? Yes. Or do we all look up to Darius and respect the work that he does and get inspired off of the work that he does, get fed off of the work that he does? Absolutely. So I just
Chris, did you want to say something? Thank you so much for that. Chris, you had something too?
Yeah, I just wanted to interject and just kind of speak on Darius is just like who the person he is, because like I've seen him like what Jah just said, like as far as Darius, I've seen him do that with so many people at NIU as well. Like be a mentor, be a big brother, be somebody to lean on to help develop other people. Me and you worked a lot together at NIU, like with was it BSU, BSA? I don't know, BSU probably, right? Yeah. But I just to see you work, honestly. And now to see that the work you're doing in your community, like it's just amazing. So like just I wanted to just give you your flowers while you're here, like real shit. Like it's impressive, it's motivating, it's inspirational. So keep doing what you're doing, you people notice, people always see it, people are always watching. Keep doing you and shit. Don't ever change, cause like
If I'ma spend, I gotta pay for some friends. Let me pay for some friends. If I'ma spend, shot a brain, your friend.
yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is so beautiful, and you know, truly, you all like when I thought of this, I was like, I want to have someone, you know, that knows what they're talking about, you know, someone that's passionate, and you're just like beautiful at what you do, and it is important for people to, you know, listen and to hear those things. It's uncomfortable, it'll be awkward, but you got to hear the beautiful things that people, you know, have to say about you while you're here, and you make a huge difference, and it's very much so true. He did definitely say he wanted to have both of you on here. You know, when I invited him, and I was more than happy to have them because it is a panel setting, so it was perfect. So it worked out great for us, and it was a beautiful for you all to come together. So I'm super excited about this. Evan, we're going to take it to you to hear, you know, kind of, you know, how did you come up out of the house, and what does it, you know, mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, so I've known Darius for a while, and Darius kind of knew me before even I did. Like Darius would see me and interact with me, kind of in this space of like patiently waiting for me to kind of come into my queer identity. It was very much like, oh, like you know, like everybody just really likes you, this or whatever, but like we're just waiting for you to be you. You know, whenever you're ready, we'll embrace you. We just, you know, this is a space we want you to be you. And I'm just like, I am me. What are you talking about? Yeah, I'm clearly me, but I really, as I started to come to my own, really express myself, it was just full support and love, nurturing, advice. Oh my God, so many like long conversations about you know, queer relationships. And I was going through so much right when I came out. I kind of did coming out in this way that was very like bold. I was like, all right, I'm out and I'm dating. I'm like, I'm going to all the festivals, I'm dressing up. I like had a boyfriend in 5 minutes, and that was a crazy roller coaster relationship. And I was just like, boom, 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 just doing everything. And Darius was there to just kind of like remind me, like, take your time, figure out who you are in this, and when you're ready, just kind of just use always just kind of reminding me, you know, house of Berry, house of Berry. And I think traditionally, I mean, houses traditionally have been something that was necessary for queer communities, because especially queer communities of color, because coming out potentially was going to isolate you from your family. You know, so many queer people of color get rejected and kicked out of the house as teenagers and children, because they can't hide. You know, they aren't cispassing, or they are trans, and they're living a lie. And it's the point where it's so obvious to their people that their people reject it, as either self-hate or colonization, whatever you want to say. Like all that homophobia comes out, and it pushes them out of the family. So early on, you were having all these queer youth kind of finding themselves in big metropolitan cities and settings, and they needed something that's kind of support them. And that's kind of what houses were. They were older queer folks taking these queer kids in because they had shared trauma and they understood their story, and they could be there for them in a way that their real family wasn't. So it's chosen family too. So even though we aren't a traditional house and we're kind of separated right now because of coming out of this pandemic, there is this sense of like, you can come to the house and you can be accepted and you can be acknowledged for the person you are, and you don't have to suppress it, which is such a real thing. Like I have a very loving sister and heteronormative family, and they want to learn things and they want to be involved with my queerness as much as they can and they feel comfortable with. But there are many a time where I'm like, damn, I'm tired of having to explain why I want to wear a skirt, or why I want to wear pearls, or why I want to hold my boyfriend's hand in public, or why I'm scared to hold my boyfriend's hand in public. You don't need to do that work with your queer chosen family. They're there for you. They understand your trial. They understand your trauma. And it's liberating. And I can't stress this. I'm like, y'all know as people of colors how exhausting it is to like cater to and love and protect your blackness and experience it and express it and choose when to, you know, be very, very in it. And moments where you're like, okay, I feel safer maybe keeping it small. You do that with queerness too. So it's very, very rewarding to have this group of people where you can feel like I don't have to make it small, I don't have to make it big, I can just be me. So that's what a house does too.
And I have a question, Darius. What made you want to create a house and to be a leader, to be a father? Did you have a mentor? Did you not? Like, what made you want to start this? And
No, coming up, I had no queer people to look up to. I had no queer people to identify with. I was literally navigating this shit. Well, me and my best friend, Anthony Travis, if he's watching, hey, Jay, we were just trying to figure this. We're gay. Okay, what do we do, right? And I do think that while he was like a year or so younger than me, he taught me a lot about it, like about queer sex, queer bodily upkeep. You know what I'm saying? Like he just taught me a lot about the community. But I had nobody, and so I always felt like, damn, I don't want anybody who I come into contact with or who comes up after me that is queer to not have nobody. I always felt like there was a sense of responsibility to my community, especially to the queer babies, because queer babies are out here taking their lives every single day. And I'm able to save one life by just being able to inspire and uplift and center this baby, then hell yeah, I'm going to do the work. And I'm going to spend the hundreds of dollars I have spent on Jaha Bella, you know? And that's fine for me, because I know that in my deepest heart, my deepest regard, I just always want a place of community. And I feel like if you're not finding your community, make one. And once you make one, love on that damn community.
I love that. And the community. So to piggy off that, I got our next topic. We're going to keep it rolling because now we're about to get real queer. Is it your desire to have straight/cisgender people as allies? Now, you know, people be, oh, I'm an ally. And, you know, people will be having the flags as Pride Month. You know how they be doing. You know how the straights be. You know how they be. Now, is it your desire? And do you feel like it's necessary to have straight/cisgender people as allies? I want you guys to go ahead and take that away from us. Go ahead.
I'll defer to my child, Jaha.
I'm sorry, y'all. Whatchamacallit? Like we were talking about queerness and beauty and all that type of stuff. I am currently on a vacation with the love of my life. So,
oh, it's beautiful. Where are you?
In Hawaii.
Oh my goodness! I appreciate you coming. Excuse us when we sign.
No,
excuse us. You would have been okay. Excuse us.
I'm always going to be willing to do the work because the work is what saved me. So it don't matter what I'm doing or where I am.
Oh, I love that. Well, we appreciate you.
Panel, right.
Thank you so much. But go ahead.
I am no longer willing to have straight folks, cis folks, gay folks, trans folks, whatever folks who are just allies. We need accomplices, right? There are people whose bodies are literally getting slain. So we are no longer at the point where sharing a hashtag is enough. We are no longer at the point where posting a rainbow flag is enough. Like if there is a queer person in your circle that does not have a place to stay and you are a non-queer person, you open up your home. If you have it, you put some money into it. You put some work into it. You come to the meetings and you color the protest signs in. You research the legislation so that your queer friends can say, you know, my friend supports me. And that's what we need. Everybody has always had an ally, but we need actionary items, you know? Like we need folks who are willing to put their money, their bodies, their time, their mental capacity behind the work that we have to do in order to survive.
That's real. Don't talk about it, be about it. That's real. All right. And Olivia, you got something? Go ahead.
It's sweet and it's short and simple. To piggyback, all I have to say is like what you were saying is it's oh shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. Carry on.
Okay, remind us when you go ahead. Evan, you want to go ahead? No, you come back.
Can you guys still hear me? I can't see me on my camera. I don't know if y'all can still see me, but I can still hear me.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
Sound great.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I think that like Jaha said, I very much agree with an accomplice. You know, I'm kind of at this space where I don't want to just have to do all the heavy lifting with my queerness anymore. I love cisgendered straight people. My parents, my brother, my sister, they're all cisgendered heterosexual folks. But I'm at this point with even them where we're having conversations about me not being the only person giving them information about my identity. You know, I'm in this space where I really want to see people care enough about me and loving the person I am to do the research by themselves. Look up things, really go out of your way to understand queerness in a way that's not just by the person that you love. I think so often it's easy to be like, yeah, I have like a gay uncle and I love my gay uncle, but also love that person. We love the queer folks for really work, the work necessary to really be there for people without them doing the heavy lifting. Like it's nice to be like, yeah, like I want to learn more about it, and can you tell me like what documentaries to watch? Like we'll have documentaries, we'll have shows and everything. But it's nice to also not have to do that. It'd be wonderful if you could tell me, you should read this book or you should watch this show or this movie, because I think it does a really great and complex job of kind of capturing an experience that maybe you'll relate to. Any minority group can kind of tell you it is exhausting feeling like you're having to do all the heavy lifting around supporting yourself. So yeah, I want an accomplice. I want somebody who cares about my queerness in a way that's very similar to me and isn't just here for the show.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
Absolutely underscore everything that they said. It's all about having an accomplice, a co-struggler, right? Ally has become flat. Doesn't mean the same. Doesn't hold the same gravity or weight. And I think that their co-strugglers, accomplices are so necessary in rooms that we're not in, rooms that we might be in, right? Having somebody like a China, like a Chris, you know what I'm saying, that will speak up for some shit that arises that they know is trash, right? That's where a co-struggler comes in, and that's where that role is. Because I may not be able to speak for myself, but knowing I got somebody who's down with me, who's down with the community, who's gonna be like, nah, that's messed up. That's where the importance comes.
Olivia, did it come to your mind?
Yeah, I said it. I said actions speak louder than words. And education is important. Always, be willing to get educated.
Okay.
And
Nicole, go ahead.
The thing about education, right? When you have Google available, free Google, overworking your queer friends who already have to exist in a space of intersectionality of being Black and queer, and for some of us, youth. And on top of that, having to survive those things and educate you, that shit ain't fair. Especially when Google is super free and accessible. Especially when there's so many other queer intellectuals who have come before us and have done the work for you to do the research. So it's okay to ask questions like, as far as like, how do you identify, like X, Y, and Z. But if there's a term that you don't know, before you over-exercise emotionally and mentally the queer people around you, Google first, then circle back.
Okay, and I'm gonna piggyback off that with the next topic. What TV and media / music people do you feel is a true representation of being queer? I spelled queer wrong. I know how to spell queer on all words. It was a typo. I was typing too fast. All right, let me bump that. Here we go. Halle Berry, Derry. Tell us some good representations. I know they say Pose, but Pose just came out, which is crazy to me. Like, in 2019, I've only been watching it in the season. How many? It was over too soon anyway. So I'm like, that's like one show, and it's a show. I feel like they came so late. It's great. But like, what are some other things that other people that you look up to? What are things that true things that people can look at?
For sure. A lot of folks don't know that Pose is based on the documentary that we mentioned earlier, Paris is Burning, which takes you into the lives of queer and trans community in New York. It gives you the foundations of ballroom. It gives you the foundations of like folks navigating and figuring out what queerness really means to them on the streets, right? Like these were queer kids who were doing what they needed to do to survive. Now, granted, there's a lot of critique about Paris is Burning because those queer folks that was in the video were not paid for their time, not paid for their stories, and the documentary has gone on to win awards and get a lot of accolades, and these folks did not receive those. And so I think, so this is a funny question because Pose did that. Like, it made sure to get all the representation that it humanly could and pay the folks a part of the community, right? It was a trans woman-led cast. What? That's unheard of. And so I think that's why folks really defer to Pose, like, yo, watch Pose, get to Pose. Because it has done a beautiful job of centering the queer voice. So Pose, Paris is Burning. I don't know if folks know a poet named by the name of Danez Smith. They are an amazing poet who I look up to, who really talks about their queer experience, their non-binary experience, right? What it means to be Black, and talk about that, because Black people, when they hear non-binary or call me by they, them, Black people going, wig out. Like, what? No, you, he, you, she, you. No, that's what society has us thinking. It doesn't have to be that. But yeah.
All right, I love that. Libby Rose, what are some things that you like that makes you feel good?
So, things that represent being queer for me would be I love, this is so typical, but Lady Gaga, the queen, we love her. I love her. Um, the what she represents is really big for me. She's
But she
always
goes
fought.
beyond what she says. I'm a huge Lady Gaga fan. I know I'm straight, but I'm a huge Lady Gaga fan. But she goes above and beyond. Like a lot of the
Yeah,
things, like, she uses her money for very positive things. Like when I go to the concerts, like it was like insane. It was really like I was like, shit, my ass. I was like, shit, my straight ass over here. I'm like, yeah, don't be a drag, just be a queen, whether you're broke or evergreen, my old silly
mhm.
ass. But
I
like really,
love her. She's
go ahead.
amazing. No, sorry. I get carried away when I talk about her. I just
I'm
love
a
her so much.
little, I'm a little monster too.
And then somebody else is Kesha. Kesha's a really great role model representation for the queer community. I've always been influenced by music, if anything, and those two are my top.
All right, Jaha.
Okay, so I'm gonna have a controversial one. I don't care, but it is what it is. Lena Waithe, because she is
I love her.
critiquable.
I
Because
love
she is
her.
critiquable,
I
right?
love her.
There are a lot of things to love about her, and there are equally a lot of things to hate about the work
I
that
know
she
her
puts
ass be
out.
tripping too, but still.
And I think that it's really important as queer folks, as queer theorists, as queer accomplices, that we do the work of understanding that queerness is not a science. We are just now getting to the space where we are openly acknowledging that there are more than two genders. So we simply don't know everything. And Lena Waithe does a lot of good work. And she also does a good amount of detrimental work. And being able to critique both sides of the coin, being able to exist in the duality of being a queer person and sometimes harming queer folks in the things that I do is important to speak about.
I love that. I love that. Snaps to that. Love that. All right, Evan, take us out with
Yeah, I'm
this.
still here. Yeah, I'm
I
definitely
got you.
still here. I think for me, I a big part of kind of formatting my queer identity and who I wanted to be as a queer man was when James Baldwin came into my life and I started reading him both independently and for school. So I always recommend to any queer man who's kind of coming out of the closet or really trying to figure out who they want to be as a queer person to read Giovanni's Room. I think it's one of his best novels, and it encapsulates a lot of the nuance of queer male, cisgendered male relationships, both intergenerational. It shows you kind of what you could be if you don't really embrace it, and it's kind of a cautionary tale. It's a romance novel that ends in tragedy. And it's just really beautifully written, and it really, really does capture moments. Like I was reading it, I was like, "Damn, that happened to me last week," and it's like written in like 1950 or 60, and it does a great job. I think it's timeless of really
Human
showing.
nature never changes. People are
Yeah,
always the same. Yeah.
exactly. And so even though it's like its setting is different and the timing is different and the people in it aren't me, you can find a little bit of you in there as a queer person. So I think that's a great book to read.
All right. Now we're gonna go ahead and get into our last but not least topic. Holly Berry Dear, you have to open up a question to our panel, to us, for us to answer. Now this is the first time we've ever done this on the Nightcap Crew. I have no idea what the question is.
If I'ma spend, I gotta pay for some friends. Let me pay for some friends. If I'ma spend, shot a brain, your friend.
All right. What is the question you're going to propose to the panel?
How do you hold space for queer family members and or friends in your personal lives? How do you show up for them?
Can I go first?
Okay. Okay, I was gonna say I was gonna say this can be an open discussion to piggyback. So Q, you can go ahead and then we'll piggyback. Go ahead.
Well, this may be kind of like an indirect response starting off, but I kind of been holding myself accountable, honestly, these last few years, just because I am a black man, and it's very disturbing that we can march and we can praise and be so invested into Black lives that are being lost at a fortunate rate by police and police brutality and just natural gun violence. But the negative stigma that we are programmed with just because of someone's sexuality, we don't defend them. I don't, I've even growing up as a kid, I remember I mean, like, I don't want to put my family under the bus, but like, it's just how it is. Like, you guys relate. Like, it just, I didn't really understand where the hate came from, the fear, the uncertainty, the just the lack of not even like just stop worrying about it because it has no effect over your life. It has no power over your life. And I want to hold a space for queer folks because I lead with love. I lead with responsibility in a lot of areas in my life, and I am still growing as a young 26-year-old Black man. And I want to be a part of these organizations, be a part of these conversations because I'm still learning as well. Because it's just more of the negative side. I want to diminish because they are only doing it because they don't have knowledge or any education. They're only spewing these negative things just because they don't understand. It's so simply to make fun of somebody because you don't understand, and it's only going to make you worser inside and as a person.
So
So
what do you do to the family members? Okay, so we're saying all this. So action wise, what do you do? Do you say something? Do you check them? Like, you feel
I
uncomfortable
have
about it?
to.
What do you? So how does this walk us through a little bit? Not to put them on bus, but just a little something.
I've been in situations high school, college,
High school.
just like whether it's a man talking down on a woman or a guy saying hateful slurs to a homosexual man. It's like I have to speak up because I mean I'm not sure if it's my Taurus energy, my raging, just like just I have to insert myself because I just don't tolerate any type of hate in any form. I just don't like it. So I have to speak up. I have to set an example because if I want to bring kids into this life, I want to make them feel comfortable as well. If they decide to choose, same sex or whatever they are, whatever they want to be, I will be the fullest supporter, like at all times. So I just, you guys have been so insightful and so
Yes.
informative, and like
Yes.
it's been a great talk so far. So yeah.
It has been. It's been so beautiful. So let's go ahead and get into that a little bit more. Danielle, you have a platform as well. So talk to us about how you hold space for queer folks in your life.
Yeah. So I am still kind of like trying to think of how to word this. So excuse me if I kind of stutter a little bit. I think something that, like Q said, that's really important is really just kind of checking people if they say something that is either insensitive or intolerant. And I think sometimes, even if it's older people, they might say something and they didn't grow up in a generation where like that was considered like inappropriate or hurtful. So I have seen times where even like at like football games, like I go to Patriots games all the time, I have heard guys say like words that they shouldn't say and that I'm not going to repeat. And sometimes when it's like a grown ass man that says something inappropriate, like even like regardless of what it is, like I will say something to them. And I think that especially if it's like an older guy, if you have like a young girl say something to you and like put you in your place, like you won't say that again. Like that's very embarrassing and you feel bad for saying it. So I do try and stick up when I hear things like that. Something else I have done on my show earlier on, and I am trying to bring more guests in from different like backgrounds, whether it's sexuality, race, religion, anything. And I think I've been doing a lot better of a job at that initially now that I've been networking a lot, but having space for people. I had someone on who we talked about like open relationships versus monogamous relationships, but they are a bisexual person talking about their experience of when they were a sex worker, what it was like being bisexual in open relationships while doing that, and just really giving them the space to talk. And the guest that I had that talked about that, I've known her for a really long time. And what she does now, like when people kind of like ask her questions about what it's like being a bisexual woman and an open heterosexual relationship. Sorry, I like can't say all those words all in one mouthful. I get a little stuck. But she has used that when people start asking her questions that she went on my show and answered. She'll tell people like, hey, you know what? Like I had a whole hour and like 10-minute long conversation about this. Listen to this. And like, I'm happy to answer questions, but she got a lot of really good information out there.
Yeah,
and
that's real.
It's been really good. And I think it was helpful for her because she is like she said, like she's asked so much about this, and kind of like Jaha said earlier, like use your resources. So I was happy to help her create a resource for people. And I know people still ask her, but like her just having that as an option, like, hey, you know what? Stop asking me this question that I've asked 10 times.
Yeah, because it's exhausting. No one wants to keep getting asked the same thing. People are just lazy and don't want to look. And, you know, speaking of that, Jaha, I know you wanted to chime in before you have to go. You're on your beautiful vacation, but go ahead and take us with a piggyback off that.
So, I think that it is always important to do the work on behalf of the community that you marginalize. So, as a gay cisgendered woman, there are ways in which my identity, how I'm able to move, marginalize trans women. So whenever a transphobic comment is made, whenever there's a queer space that trans women aren't included in, it is my job to do the work to make sure that that voice is there. It is my job to do the work, to do the research. It's my job to do the work to ask the hard questions on their behalf. Just like the cisgender heterosexual men around me should be doing the work on my behalf, so that there's not a space that I can walk into where I call someone a friend and I feel unsafe. We always have to, because, you know, as queer Black folks, we're already at an intersection that majority of the time leads to death, right? And I think it's always important for us to acknowledge there will always be privilege in being a passing person. There will always be privilege in being a cisgendered person. There will always be privilege in whatever our identities are tied to, because there's someone else who gets marginalized by the way that we show up in the world.
That's very real, that you can also use, not just because I'm queer, I can't help nobody else. I'm just queer, woe is me, I'm queer. You know, it's always some more things that we can do to help one another. It's not just, oh shit, it's just, you know, and when you're thinking about it, it's like, yeah, it can be a little bit, you know, worse being trans. And, you know, on my platform as well, I had these like things where I do deep dives, like talking about the trans experience, and having those things were just like so brutal that I have never like heard of before. I'm like, wow, you know, it is much deeper sometimes than just being, you know, like you said, a cisgender, you know, homosexual, lesbian woman, you know, for example. You know, people also like her who are trans need allies as well. So it's like a never-ending wheel of having to help each other. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for being here. And I know if you got to go do whatever you got to do, but we love you and thank you. And we'll have you on again as well. So thank you very much. So we'll give you some snaps. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get it into Fit Hollywood 6. Now, this is very interesting. You and Darius know one another, but, you know, sometimes, you know, straight guys, they don't be really, you know, sometimes fond of queer folks at times. You know, they be talking shit. You know, how do you be an ally when people don't think it's the coolest thing? I know you ain't with what's cool. You know, you're a leader of yourself. You teach people. You also teach children, you know, children who are different, you know, children who just aren't like you necessarily. So chime in on, you know, how do you hold space for queer people in your life? And I'm very interested to hear that as well. Because Q had a beautiful outlook, so I want to hear yours too.
Well, when I think about this, it takes me back to, and this is kind of recent too, but I've always really had this mindset. But one of my coworkers and a gentleman I consider a close friend, his name's Paul. So if Paul watching, shout out to you, Paul. But he always said, treat different, no different. And it's as simple as that. Like, just because someone is different, you shouldn't treat them any different. And it's just as simple as that, really. Like, people are people. Like, we all bleed red. We all have the same anatomies. You know, like we all bleed red. So it's like you don't treat people different. And what I can do on my part is create a comfortable space for people to be in. Like, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna converse with you. I'm gonna interact. I'm gonna if somebody acting up like shit, I'm gonna speak out on it because that's just the right thing to do. Like, and there's right and wrong in this world. Like we can try to bullshit and oh this gray line. No, people know right and wrong. And if you treating somebody a certain way because they're different from you, that shit is
But so
wrong.
did it come from your family or from your kin, close kin, instilling that in you? Because still, this being black men and being in a fraternity, it's just still like they don't be about all that.
I mean, it's what my mama taught me from the very beginning. Like,
Okay, so it's still from
um,
upbringing for you personally. But you do
I,
acknowledge what I'm saying, that that's not, your mindset is still not majority.
yeah, I would agree with that. My mindset isn't the majority,
Okay,
so
okay.
that's why I do try to do my part in like speaking up when I can. Because like you said, I was just teaching seventh graders, and I think I spoke to you before about this. Like a handful of them were part or becoming a part of the LGBTQ plus community, and for me as an educator, like it was challenging because like they're young and they're still figuring things out. They're still going through puberty. But honestly, it was still treat different, no different, and it's teaching their counterparts, their peers,
And
the
not
same thing.
ignoring that that they are going to be different, and not
Yeah,
making sure that they're going to be a part of things, or that are paying attention that kids won't treat them differently, or making sure
yeah,
that they are being included, or making sure that they are being true to themselves. People are going to say that kids are going to be all treated equally, okay, but sometimes like when you have different things going on, sometimes you're going to need a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra effort, a little bit of extra building up those children. So people ignore it and just want to do that. And I don't feel like that's not the best way to go about it. Like to ignore those things. Like you're acknowledging, yes, they're different and they're a part of the community.
and yeah, absolutely. You really have to acknowledge it. And like for instance, I had it was a young black boy, and I'm pretty sure he identified as gay. But he loved Nicki Minaj, he loved Beyonce, and I gave them an extra credit project on like who they looked up to. And he did it on Beyonce, and honestly, it was a wonderful project. Like I was very proud of him. The presentation was amazing. But some of the kids in the class would just try to like mess with him and like bully him. Oh, you Beyonce or Nicki Minaj? They're calling that. Hey, Nicki Minaj. Hey, Beyonce. I'm like, and I have to call it out in class. Like I would really have to just point that out. Like, what's wrong with Nicki Minaj? What's wrong with Beyonce? Like you feel me? Like they're
I
people
would
to
have
look
been in
up
that
to. Like
class. What was I doing last week? Pull up in the monster, all of the building stuff.
exactly.
I'd be in
But
class like, what's wrong with Nicki?
Anka.
Yeah, I'm
Exactly.
like, what's wrong with Nicki Minaj?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. So it's like you have to acknowledge it. You have to give them a little bit more extra love. A little bit more extra care, a little bit more attention because they gonna need it. Like life as a black man, life is already challenging enough, and he's going through something completely different that I really can't understand. And all I can really try to do is just give like empathy and sympathy for. So it's like I'm gonna try to make your life as easy as I can when I'm around because there's already enough bullshit going on in the world. So like let me help you. And that's just the way I
Yes,
see it.
very much so. That's man. Like being black is enough, and we can empathize in the way, maybe not necessarily like identify parallel, but for me, I always really wanted to open my platform. Like I open my platform for things I don't necessarily understand. Like, but I've worked politics. I've been an actor, so a lot of these things I've been exposed to. But like my family in specific, like for me, like I have people in my life who are sick, who have HIV, AIDS, those things are very near and dear to my heart. Of things that people who are queer really suffer from and deal with. That I've seen firsthand affect them, and all of positive and knowing that I've lost. So those things aren't death sentences, and I'm not going to get deep into those things right now. We'll save that for another time. But seeing those things that affect people who I love, and who are queer, I've always had a soft spot for it, and I always been one of those people who will stand up and get upset about it, but to the point where it would upset me and it make me want to cry and punk out. But I'm like, I can't do those things. I can't sit here and cry. I can't cry when someone is upsetting me about someone who I care about, who's gay or who's queer. So that's why I started to use my platform, and I had to man up myself and be able to find an avenue for people who I love and who I care about because it affects them so dearly, and I've seen it. So I think those things, like, learning about the trans experience, for example, is something that's been a hot topic that people have been talking about. And when I have people who are trans on my platform, or people who are non-binary, things that we don't understand as Black people, I open up my platform for it, and I have different types of people who watch my content, and it's just kind of get with it or get out. So that's why I'm excited that we did this. I know it's getting late. I know we're going on and on, but anybody else want to chime in on how can people hold space? Chris, go. Chris and Libby Rose, go ahead. Yes, of course.
Just one last thing. Evan, shout out to the Virgo gang. Like, I'm also a Virgo. I know you said that earlier, so we're very special people. I just wanted to, point that out.
mean, I'm still here, so hey, if Virgos are great, we ate.
Absolutely.
All I wanted to say was that this was really great. Also, Darius, this is so random, but you have a beautiful smile, and I can't get over it.
Darius is so beautiful. Did you follow Darius on Instagram? Darius is beautiful.
I'm gonna after
He's
this.
very beautiful. We're gonna have Darius on. We're gonna have Darius on again. Darius is definitely gonna be a friend of the show. We're gonna continue to do this. And Darius, I know you want to say some things. Go ahead. Anything else you want to talk about, or go ahead, share?
Well, Liv, thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Anytime.
Thank you. I do want to say that any queer kids that are going to watch this, watch this right now, there's always a space for you in this world. There's always a space for you to take up in any room, in any conversation, that you matter. You are beautiful. You are centered. You are seen. And don't let nobody tell you otherwise. And don't let nobody try to convince you otherwise. You matter. You and all your queerness and all your transness and all your panness, whatever it looks like to you, how you show up in this world is up to you. And don't let nobody tell you nothing different. That's period. Thank you, China. Thank you, the Nightcap crew, for having myself, my children, the House of Berry. Follow us on all social media platforms at House of Berry. Follow me at Sir_Harlem. Follow Evan at EV, period, FOW. Follow Jaha at JAHA.BELA. Thank you again.
I'm going to put that all in the description so everyone can follow. I'm going to put that in there. It's going to be up, and it's pre-recorded and recorded, so I got you.
For even offering your platform and thinking about having a conversation with queer folk, with me specifically, right? Coming up and you together. It was a lot. It was a lot.
It was a lot, but you came and you interviewed us when we did Song for Greta, one of my most near and dear plays. And it was so beautiful. And my friend Morgan said, thank you, Darius, my best friend. Thank you very, very much, Darius. And we appreciate you and bringing your kids on. And you really did open your platform. And automatically you said, can I bring my kids? Can I bring, on, people to talk? And everyone was so eloquent. And I'm just so excited for us to continue to talk about these things. And I'm going to have you guys on to talk about just, not just things for Queer or Pride Month, but just normal things that we deal with. So I'd love to have you guys come on and talk about dating. So we'll arrange for you to have you on in July, okay?
Period. Thank you so much.
Period. All right, you guys, everybody, a special shout out again to the Nightcap crew. Special love to at Libby Rose. Follow her on TikTok at Q.Swap, at Fit Hollywood 6, at Danielle in Hair, at Holly Berry Dairy. I'm going to get this right. Sir Harlem. Evan, I'm going to get it right. I promise. It's the name is so cute with the berry. Oh my goodness. I need to be a part. I need to be a part of what you got going. I'm excited. I'm excited. We got to do some things.
The house. There are straight folks.
I'm excited. Okay, so you guys, see you, Nightcap crew. I'm gone. I'm joining the House of Berry. Bye-bye. All right. With that being said, you guys, I love you. Thank you so much for joining again. You have tuned into the Nightcap crew. Thank you to our special guest at House of Berry. I'm going to put all of that in the description for you guys. And
if I'm gonna spend, I gotta pay for some friends. Let me pay for some friends. If I'm gonna spend, shot a brain, your friend.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Nightcap crew, and I will see you guys next time. Everybody say bye-bye. Everybody stay on.